Somebody sent me a text message earlier. This is about 34 minutes ago. I didn't get to it because I was planning on talking about in the second portion of this. Rush signed off today saying that Morrison wanted Vindman off any calls because he suspected Vindman had leaked President Trump's calls with the Mexican president and the Australian prime minister. Okay? Now, this is what they're referring to. And I'll get into Vindman making these things up here in just a second. Senator Johnson sent a letter to Congress accusing Lieutenant Colonel Vindman of illegally leaking contents of Trump's call and holding a duplicitous motive. Chairman of the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs, Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, don't you know, blasted Lieutenant Colonel Vindman in an 11-page letter written to ranking members of the House Intel Committee, Devin Nunes and Representative Jordan. Okay? Senator Johnson wrote the congressman a letter to provide his first-hand information and perspective on events relevant to the impeachment inquiry. Johnson traveled to Ukraine with Special Envoy Kurt Volker, spoke to Ukrainian President Zelensky in person, and spoke to President Trump about the hold on military aid. Unlike all of the witnesses that Schiff has dragged in to testify using fourth-hand information, this guy actually spoke with everybody involved. Okay, none of these other witnesses so far have talked with anybody associated with the call. By the way, Vindman never spoke to the president. Johnson clearly stated there was no link between the hold on U.S. military aid to the Ukraine in exchange for Ukraine investigating the Biden crime family. He did, however, suggest Vindman was behind the leaks outside his chain of command. We already know that Vindman violated the chain of command. Okay, we already know that. Lieutenant Colonel Vindman showed up to his impeachment testimony wearing his military dress. Alexander Vindman, one of Schiff's star witnesses and a left-wing hack, according to the author of this particular article, testified to the House Intel Committee that he thought the president was wrong in his policy with Ukraine. Now, remember, Vindman also said that he felt that the president was somehow violating U.S. foreign policy. Now, who sets foreign policy? The president of the United States does. It is impossible for the president to violate foreign policy. Now, today, Vindman clarified that and said the president sets foreign policy, not unelected bureaucrats. But we had to have him bring it up again. So, yes, people have thought that Vindman was the leaker for some time and have tried to have him removed. Okay? So now, Alexander Vindman today admitted that he made up parts of the Trump call summary. President Trump underscored the unwavering support of the United States for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity within its international recognized borders and expressed his commitment to work together with President-elect Zelensky and the Ukrainian people to implement reforms that strengthen democracy, increase prosperity, and root out corruption. But Vindman clarified during his testimony today that the president did not bring up the topic of rooting out corruption during the phone call, but he included it in his summary of the call anyway. Why? Why would you fabricate that entire thing? When asked by the Democratic counsel about whether the summary he wrote was false, Vindman hesitated. That's not entirely accurate, but I'm not sure that I would describe it as false. It was consistent with U.S. policy, Vindman said. So we've got Vindman going outside of the chain of command. We've got Vindman falsifying summaries of phone calls, okay? We've got Vindman, who has been accused of being a leaker numerous times. We have Vindman saying and admitting that he spoke with somebody in the intelligence community, but Schiff and Vindman's lawyer, nobody wants anybody to know who that individual is because they know it's the whistleblower, but they can't know it's the whistleblower because they all say that they don't know who the whistleblower is. There's a whole bunch of problems with Vindman. Tons, okay? He's a liar. That's what we know about Vindman, is that he's a liar. So we've got all of these, but we've got a couple of other things. The National Security Council attempted to remove Vindman. They were blocked by, I'll tell you that in just a minute. I'll tell you who blocked them. There was an attempt to remove him by the National Security Council officials, and it was blocked by somebody. And you're going to recognize some of the names that I'm going to bring up. And just so you know, it has nothing to do with Trump. We got more coming up. News Talk 95.3, Michiana's news channel.